Good morning, folks. This is Catherine here. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday the 19th of September 2025. I've just finished reading this book a couple of days ago. It's got to go back to the library. Careless People, a story of where I used to work, by Sarah Wynn-Williams. Careless People is a quote from some classic. Is it The Great Gatsby or something? About how rich people can do anything and they're just so rich that they leave a trail of broken people and things behind them, and money just makes it go away. And I think there's probably a lesson in the news there, timely. Jeffrey Epstein, for example, supposedly did accused of lots of things, and the one person that's in jail is a woman who we're told did naughty things, but not the things that Jeffrey Epstein and his mates actually did, including, it suggested, various politicians and various royal people from rich royal families around the world. Sarah Wynn-Williams, Kiwi girl, New Zealander. There's some fantastic stories in here. We're told they're all true. Used to live in a rural part of New Zealand, and or certainly holiday there, and was attacked by a shark when she was swimming as a teenager, and survived. She trained as a lawyer and went and got a job at the New Zealand Embassy in Washington DC, and sort of liked the diplomatic side of things. Went and got a job at the UN, trying to do lots of good things, saving the whales, etc., etc. You know, all good things. And in the early days of Facebook, in the early 2000s, she could see it would become a major force, and that they needed someone to interface between the technical geeks and the politicians and that. And she, what would you say, touted a job to them. She said, you need me to... And the whole story, it took her like years to get the contacts. And they rejected her first several applications until they finally realised, yes, we do actually need a position in that job you've suggested. And she worked for them for many years, I think a total of about 7 years. I'll touch here on Google. She only mentions it in passing, but I believe Google's byline used to be "Don't be evil," and then a few years ago they just dropped that byline. So in other words, Google are quite happy to openly be evil now, and are just so big they get away with it. When I picked this book up, like with several books that I've seen reviewed or heard reviews on the radio and then ordered in, I thought, no, it's anyway. But I tell you what, it's absolutely gripping from page one, absolutely gripping. There's just two brief excerpts I will read, just a paragraph each. So, and she's managed all this while having children. It's fine for the rich people at the top. They have full-time paid nannies. She had to struggle to find a bit of childcare. And she had terrible nearly died after having the second child. There was complications. We'll just read this paragraph out. I've got a bookmark here. I think all the time about how the company looked to me before I joined. All the possibility of it. The possibility... Sorry, now my glasses have steamed up, because it's quite a cold morning, and it's... I'll start that one again. And the light's in the wrong angle for here. I think about I think all the time about how the company looked to me before I joined. All the possibility of it, the promise of connecting everyone in the world. How I was so sure that Facebook would change the world for the better. The Facebook I saw then has been corrupted. And just this little bit at the end, still with a partly fogged up glass, got to get some air blowing past it. Quite a cold morning this morning, heavy rain overnight. It's thinned down a bit now. Probably only get 12-degree maximum today, they said. About the author. Sarah Wynn-Williams is a former New Zealand diplomat and international lawyer. She joined Facebook after pitching a job and ultimately became Director of Global Public Policy. After leaving the company, she has continued to work on tech policy, including artificial intelligence. Even more steamed up. I recommend this book. Who's it by? Well, I got it through the library system. But I recommend it. Like most people nowadays, I do use Google product. Everyone uses Google products. I think if you have an Android phone, you have to use a Google product. YouTube, email, Facebook, Messenger. Of course, Facebook later bought WhatsApp and that. But anyway, there you go. I recommend it. It is only just released in 2025. That's why I want to get it back to the library. You know, I was on the list to get it. I've got to it fairly promptly, and I'm going to get it back. You get them for 6 weeks, but I try to get them back as soon as I can if there's a list. Newly released book. Careless People, a story of where I used to work. Power, greed, madness. And yes, these people are so rich. She points out that Facebook was absolutely instrumental in getting Trump into the White House in 2016. You know, they actually had staff members working in the Trump organisation prior to the election. They were actually a little bit surprised that it was so easy to get Trump in. It actually surprised them that Trump won the 2016 election. He was pouring massive amounts of money into it compared to the other side, who did some Facebook advertising. But see, with big data, they've got the advertising so optimised. They can literally pick out everyone who drives a pickup truck compared to everyone who drives a Toyota Prius and say we're going to target those people for the adverts, things like that. She talks about how they worked in Burma, which some people call Myanmar, how there was literally one part-time contractor on their team who could speak Burmese or who could read Burmese, and that the Burmese language is the only one that does not work on the Unicode computer thing, so it cannot be automatic, or could not at the time at least, be automatically translated. How they worked in with the Chinese government, well, how they worked in with all the governments, but primarily the Chinese. All sorts of things. Use Facebook products, use Google products. We sort of have to in our modern day life. But just be aware, and I'm guessing that there's probably a similar book on Google, but certainly going by Facebook, Facebook is an evil, evil institution, right from the very top. If the leader of Facebook is not US president, it's just because he doesn't want to be. They can literally buy the presidency if they wanted. Otherwise, they just install who they want. And if Americans think their voting makes a difference, well. Okay, folks. I can hear the rain still coming down. I've got to get this book back to the library. And I recommend it. So, I'm going to head away. Alright. And apologies for a somewhat disjointed book review. Anyone that gets this far in the video gets 10 completely imaginary points. Alright, cheers.